Man, I'm one of the few people still playing Warhammer 3. I've kind of stuck with the game, despite a lot of the frustrations about Immortal Empires taking so long to get here and the really slow roadmap, but you know what? I really enjoy some Kislev campaign. I really like the icy theme and the bears, Tsarina Katerin, the sleds especially. I mean, bear baiting has become one of my favorite strategies, and I've made videos about it, and I really enjoy the bear baiting. It's very fun, and with all the problems with the game, like bad performance, not fixing things that don't take long to fix, like replenishment for Zinch and other stuff like that. You know what I hope CA does in patch 1.2? I just really, like, as a player who enjoys Kislev and who sees all the things wrong with the game and who sees the frustration that the community has with the game, I just really, really hope that CA comes and nerfs my war sleds. Like, I know they're really good in melee, and maybe it would actually be kind of appropriate to nerf their melee a little, but then I hope they nerf the range for no reason, too. You know what I mean? I want the funnest unit in my Kislev roster to be nerfed. That would make the game better for me right now. That's what I want from patch 2. Said no Warhammer 3 player ever. For goodness sakes. CA. Oh, gosh. Why'd you nerf my sleds? Alright, folks. Patch 1.2 is here. There's some good here, yes, and I'll try and get some positives in here because, unfortunately for all of us Warhammer players, it seems like that negative is the only thing in our future right now. Yeah, so there's going to be a little salt today. Patch 1.2 is here. There are some good things in it. It was delivered when CA said it would be delivered. That's also good. However, it's in line with the slow roadmap, and Immortal Empires, of course, is still a long ways off, and so yes, there's some good things in it. We'll talk about some of the good things that are in it, and then I'm going to hit a little more on some of the things in it that I don't understand. It's a huge patch. I can't cover it all in one video, so I'm going to cover some of the highlights for me. I want you all to add your thoughts and put them down in the comments. Now, before I start things off, and before we talk about patch 1.2, I thought it would be appropriate to show you all a little poll I put up on my YouTube channel because I felt like, as we talk about the patch, I think it's important to talk about what Warhammer 3 players are feeling right now, and then we can look at the patch notes and try and understand whether any of this might be a help. Okay, so let's jump over, and I'm going to screen share and let you all take a look at this poll. Here's the poll that I put out on my channel, and I put together the numbers on it because YouTube's crappy and I can't just click on it and see the numbers. And why have a poll feature on here and they give me so little control over what's going on in the poll? It's very strange, but YouTube is another story, and we'll deal with them at some other point, okay? So let's talk about the poll and the results of the poll here. First off, 644 people, or the 23% you see, clicked on the bottom one, which is, hey, I just want to see the results. And I put that option in there so that they could look at the results without impacting the fields that I care about, okay? So when I sum up the total number of votes that came into the other portions of the poll here, so it was 2.8K in total, roughly 2,156 were in these three options here that I asked people that I was concerned about, okay? So if we take that percentage, and I'm going to run through the numbers here. Okay, rounding off to the nearest integer, let's go through the percentages now. So again, I'm going to adjust the percentages you see on the screen in order to remove the people who voted in the just show me the results, all right? So with a sample size of 2,156, only 29% of the people are still playing the game, according to this. That is terrible. That is absolutely terrible. Now remember, this channel was almost nothing but Warhammer 2 content for the past 3 years. I loved Warhammer 2. It's still my favorite Total War game to date. And Warhammer 3 will likely overtake it as soon as we can get Immortal Empires and get the game we should have had at launch. So it's not like my channel is a historical channel where people just don't like Warhammer 3 and that's why they're not playing it. No, this is a bad sign. CA pissed off a large portion of the community with this, and they have made a massive mistake. 64%, rounding up to the nearest integer, have quit playing the game until Immortal Empires releases. Okay? 64% of the people playing aren't going to touch it again until Q3 somewhere when we get the Immortal Empires beta. And at that point, we don't even know if it's going to be a buggy mess or if it's going to be pretty good, right? So that is insane. 65%. And this is not an insignificant sample size at 2,156. I'm not a statistician. I don't know how to go through all this perfectly, but I mean, we probably have a pretty good representation of the Total War community on my channel. And with a sample size of 2,156, it's probably fairly reflective of the community out there. And then we have 8% of people who are never going to play the game again because of this. So, Air, why are you covering this? Why are you going through this poll? What does this have to do with patch 1.2? My point is that before I even cover what's in patch 1.2, patch 1.2 doesn't matter at all to 72% of the people in this poll because they're not playing the game or won't ever play the game again. And so it sucks for CA. It sucks for the community that this happened because, yes, things need to be fixed. And there are some good things in patch 1.2, and I'm going to cover that. But you have alienated 72% of your community before the patch even comes out. This is a major problem, and I wanted to cover this here because it needs to be covered and it needs to be said. I was unhappy with the speed at which CA is going to roll out their roadmap. Part of the reason I'm covering this, and I'm sure that they have gotten the message loud and clear from a lot of people, but I want to cover it here. You need to speed up. You have a major PR issue on your hand, and the community is very upset, and this is not good, and it's going to have a major impact on sales down the line. And this needs to be fixed. You need to put more resources on the Warhammer 3 project, and it needs to speed up. This is a major issue if you're going to lose these players altogether until sometime in Q3 when we get Immortal Empires. Anyway, I wanted to cover this. Now let's go talk patch 1.2 and talk through some of the things that are there that are good. All right, so first off, with the patch, I want to say I'm not going to cover the Regiments of Renown right now. I'm going to make that a separate video. The Regiments of Renown are a free update that came in with this patch because obviously CA is trying to strike a conciliatory tone and put content out there for free because they know how bad they've pissed off the community. At least I hope they know how bad they've pissed off the community, like we just covered. That's good. I'm glad they added Regiments of Renown for free. It is a small thing, but it is a thing. And I'm appreciative that they put it out there, and I will cover those Regiments Renowned, and we'll talk about them and what, if anything, they add to the factions that they got placed with. All right, the first few things I'll cover here is it's around stability and performance. They fixed some crashing issues and soft lock issues. I'm not going to cover these in great detail. This is good. This is the kind of thing that we should be seeing in every patch, right? So I'm glad to see this up at the top. And I'm glad to see that they're working on it. One of the things that actually comes down lower in here is that they talk about fixing the radioactive snow. That is also good. I do wish that had been fixed sooner, but credit where credit's due. They fixed the radioactive snow, or at least so they say. They fixed some crashes. This is good. Glad to see that. These are things that should be coming out in patches very frequently. Some part of me hates that they don't release patches like every couple of weeks, like small fixes at least, maybe not a patch of this size, right? But regardless, those are good things, and I'm appreciative that they're at least addressing, because I have seen a lot of comments from folks who are experiencing a lot of performance issues with the game still, so I'm glad to see that that was top of list. Another thing that was close to the top of the list here in patch 1.2, which is good, and it needed some help, is AI behavior. I'm going to call out a few of the bullet points that they've placed in here. They said that they've increased the aggression level of AI players, which should make them more inclined to initiate siege attacks. This is good. Sometimes they would come, initiate a siege attack, and then sit there for a really long time, sometimes losing the initiative, allowing you to bring in reinforcements. Yes, it had the good effect of, wearing down some of your troops, but oftentimes, like especially when I was playing Kislev and I'm using that Urson invocation, they're taking attrition too. And so the AI was not making the best decisions. So I'm glad to see this. This is a good change. They said significantly tone down the anti-player bias, meaning that they're hoping the AI is not going to declare war, come all the way across the map just to attack little old you while passing by other factions that they would probably be angry at. Again, a nice change, and if it works the way that they're saying, that would be good. It also says that Wood Elves should be more focused on defending their capital city. It's also good. I have seen the Elves do some really weird stuff. Then right below this, we have some stuff around unit responsiveness. The unit responsiveness in this game does leave a lot to be desired. It is too slow, and they mention several specifics here. Ranged units will now correctly rotate and fire when they've been ordered to shoot something behind them. They should now reform properly after rotating to engage targets behind them. This is good. Resolved issues which result in ignoring orders becoming unresponsive. Yep, I have noticed this, so I do hope they've improved that. Issues with flying units, keeping them from attacking single entity land units. Yep, that has also been an issue. Delay before ranged units can fire a volley. I've seen that as well. So a lot of things here. A lot of things. So I'm glad to see that they are working on the responsiveness. Again, this is something that needs to be addressed and ultimately needs to be fixed. Even if Mortal Empires were here today, you can't have stuff sitting like this around, wrecking people's experience in it. So it's good to see this. And I'm glad to see that in there. I want to go in and call out, I'm not going to cover every faction's changes here, just going to cover a couple of highlights. Feel free to mention stuff in the comments if you think I missed something really important, but I don't want to make this video, 40 minutes long or something like that, talking about each and every change. But Grand Cathay got some changes, and if we read this dev note here, this gives you a little bit of their mindset and what they were wanting to do. They were saying in patch 1.1, we took the first steps to increase the performance of Cathay overall. Felt it was necessary to take additional measures with niche units that haven't quite solidified their place in the roster. So they make a special note here about crane gunners. They're essentially saying, we want crane gunners to be stronger than warp-lock Jezzails. Now that's a very interesting statement from Creative Assembly, especially considering that crane gunners were significantly worse than warp-lock Jezzails whenever they released. But this is good. I'm glad to see that they're improving crane gunners. Now, we'll look at the specifics there, so I think that's a good change. They also talk about changes to the Wujing War Compass. I haven't used the Wujing War Compass much. I don't play multiplayer, so this isn't going to mean as much to me, but probably a good thing. They mentioned the formation attack feature has been tough to deal with, and so they're saying that we're not going to touch it until 1.3. So something that's been a problem since before the game launch is going to continue to be a problem until we get 1.3 sometime later this summer. So in any case, we're going to cover some of the changes here. Celestial Dragon Crossbowmen in multiplayer got a little cheaper. The Celestial Dragon Guard got cheaper in multiplayer. Crane Gunners got more AP missile damage, which was in line with what they were stating above. Their projectiles now penetrate infantry targets, so that's going to be pretty significant. They improved their overall accuracy, so also significant, but their cost also had a significant increase. But that's in line with what they're attempting to do here. It sounds like they're trying to create an elite unit that does elite damage. So that all makes sense. Great Longma Riders got a little cheaper. Jade Lancers got a little stronger charge. And then, of course, they talked through the changes to the Wujing War Compass. And they mentioned up above that War Compass is not going to share a pool of magic with the caster. So it's going to be like additional magic. And so they toned down some of the spells on it accordingly. But overall, a buff to Cathay to me seems like a good thing. I think that this is, in general, like I mentioned, probably a good thing. This is going to stink for Tzeentch because Tzeentch already probably had to worry about Cathay in campaign. Just because Cathay can stack up a lot of armor and long-range missiles, they're going to certainly have to worry more now. But anyway, nice changes to Cathay in general, in my opinion. Now I want to move on, and there's a whole bunch more, by the way. They looked at their tech tree. I just don't have time to cover all this. So if you want to see more, go to the link. I'll have it in the description. I want to go talk about Kislev for a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and say something up front. I don't play the multiplayer in this game because, quite frankly, I don't have time to play the multiplayer in any game right now. I would probably like to play more multiplayer, but I just can't. Now, that said, I know that war sleds were quite powerful in multiplayer. I used them in the few matches that I played back whenever the game was releasing in Domination, and the war sleds were excellent in Domination mode. I can understand the desire that CA had to nerf them because they were very powerful. They were really good in melee and really good from range. And they said as much when they come up here and they say, with Kislev, our objective in 1.2 is to reassess the performance of sleds. Okay. And they come in here and they say, we felt that given their excellent kiting capabilities, it would be appropriate to tone down their usefulness in melee. Okay, that sounds feasible, right? I mean, you come in here and you state your objective. You're saying, hey, we think that they're excellent at kiting, and it sounds like they should be, or else you would say in here they're too good at kiting. So they're excellent at kiting, but we want to tone down their melee. And then they say, okay, to compensate for this change, we're improving the performance of some other units slightly, as well as some of the less prominent spells. Okay, so they must have some larger plan at play here. We're going to nerf the sleds a little because we don't want them being so beastly in melee. Okay, well, let's go look at what they did. Griffin Legion got increased armor. Okay, well, Griffin Legion still sucks. I mean, and it got 50 cheaper. Okay, it's slightly cheaper, slightly stronger, and still mostly useless. Like, what am I going to use Griffin Legion for? The high armor cavalry that doesn't have any AP damage, no anti-large. What am I going to do? I'm going to bring elite cavalry to a multiplayer match, or even in campaign for that matter, to do what? I can bring an elite cavalry unit that's only good at hitting low armor infantry and skirmishers. Okay, all right, whatever. Let's skip Griffin Legion. So they're still pretty much more the same. Heavy War Sled, reduce the mass from 4,100 to 3,100. Okay, well, this should impact their melee. So as stated in the objective above, this seems reasonable. Heavy War Sled, reduce the armor-piercing weapon damage from 77 to 55. Reduce the range from 140 to 130. Hang on, wait a minute. Let's go read their objective again. All right. We felt that given their excellent kiting capabilities, it would be appropriate to tone down their usefulness in melee. You know what isn't a melee stat, Creative Assembly? Armor-piercing weapon damage and range. Okay? Why do you come up here and say that they're excellent at kiting and we want to reduce their usefulness in melee, and then you nerf their kiting capability? This is absolutely ignorant and stupid. And I'm saying this as a player who loves Kislev. Almost all of my campaign time has been spent on Kislev. I probably played like 5 Kislev campaigns in the game because I like this faction so much. And I made fun of it in the beginning of the video. Said, like, so take any player like me, who is an avid campaign player, right? We're outside of multiplayer here for a second. What campaign player ever said, you know what, I hope they nerf my sleds. I hope they take the most fun and one of the most useful units in my roster is Kislev and just nerf it. Said no one ever. So I am pissed about the changes to the sled's range. Like, I am straight up pissed about it. This is stupid. Yeah, it's a small change. But that armor-piercing change is rather big, actually. That's a lot of AP missile loss right there. This is irritating and frustrating, and I'm probably just going to mod it back to what it was. I can handle the melee nerf. I get it. But let's calm down for a minute, Error. They said they were going to, slightly buff some other units to help make up for it. What does a 10 armor buff to Griffin Legion do to make up for the sleds? Nothing. Griffin Legion don't have anything to do with the sleds. Okay, well, let's see what else they did. Since my sleds are going to be doing less melee, hopefully some of my melee units got stronger, all right? All right. Zargard with great weapons. Increase melee defense by 4. Okay. It's all right for a two-handed weapon, I guess. 36. It's not amazing. Like, it's pretty good. All right. Warbear Riders. Increase the armor by 5. Yeah, we're really going to notice that when we get into battle. All right, Warbear Riders increase melee defense by 2. All right, so let me get this straight. We take the nerf bat to the sleds, saying that we're going to make other units slightly better, and you give Zargard 4 defense, Warbear Riders 5 armor, and 2 extra defense. I don't get this. Why did you reduce the kiting capability of war sleds? Anyway, this is a personal opinion. You don't all have to believe me, and if you think I'm wrong, fine. But that is stupid and just pisses me off. Like, I don't get this. I don't get that. Anyway, some of the other things they did with the spells, they reduced the cost of magic for Crystal Sanctuary, which is kind of cool. Like, it's not by a lot. It's an interesting spell. I use it a lot in campaign. It's pretty fun. They increased the damage per second of Biting Wind and Blizzard. This is good. Those spells weren't getting used as much by me, so I'm glad to see those get improved a little. And then they have a whole bunch of tech changes. Fortunately, some of these tech changes are going to be pretty important now because they needlessly nerfed the war sleds. And so down here, Pirates Weapons is going to add plus 10% range for all Kislev units. This is good. You think about 10% range. I have 130 range in my sled. You unlock this. Now you're back up above the 140 range for the sleds. So, okay, great. And then there's a reload time reduction here. That'll increase the damage of the sleds, which, good, okay. And then I can get 2 of the 20 armor-piercing missile damage back on my sleds that they took away with this one. So, yeah, I guess. All right, I'm not real happy about it. So, to me, some of the changes for Kislev are good. The nerf to the range damage of sleds was completely pointless and unnecessary and doesn't even match with the language that they put in their dev notes. So I'm overall kind of pissed off about what they did just because it affects sleds, and sleds were the most fun unit for Kislev. So let's get close to finishing things up. Back here, down on the bottom, there's some general updates. Again, I don't want to cover all of these, but this is good. They've noticed a lot of things that needed to be improved or had bugs or something like that, and they've got a lot of general updates to the campaign. So this is good. They're seeing things. This is a pretty long list of things that they're fixing. They also, I believe, improved the towers to where the AI is not going to rebuild towers as much, and they fixed some things like, for instance, slowing down or reducing the amount of towers that you're gonna have to fight. This was good. I'm really glad they did that. That's another big change that came in, and there were some other good changes here. Okay, so I'm glad to see these changes. I mean, overall, patch 1.2 for the most part is a good thing. It's things that need to be getting fixed. It's still too slow, but we expected slow at this point because we've seen the roadmap, so got to try and put that aside. It's mostly good things. They're paying attention to the game. They added some regiments of renown. We'll take a look at them in the next video. But, I mean, honestly, at this point, I'm gonna speak frankly as a customer and longtime fan of the Total War franchise, not so much as just someone who's trying to review it. I'm going to speak my own mind. It's still disappointing. It's the same thing I said about the roadmap. It's disappointing because, yes, these are good. I'm glad it's here. I'm glad they're keeping the roadmap. I'm not bashing them or saying that they're not. But it's still disappointing because why are we here? Why are we dependent and having to get excited for every update that comes because we released a game that wasn't ready to be released? So ultimately, it still lands there. I still like the game. I love Warhammer and Total War. I still think it's the best thing that's ever happened to Total War. It's partly why I'm so frustrated when I'm here. I'm not going to quit playing the game. I'm going to follow this through. The campaigns I have are going to keep going. There'll be more campaigns in the game going forward. I think for me personally, I'm a little more excited for the next iteration because what we got here on this timeline was our April, May, June. I'm hoping that Q3 is more exciting because we at least get to this asset kit or the assembly kit. So hopefully the assembly kit will bring a whole lot more modding in because we're clearly still going to see CA being slow to get to a lot of things. We'll judge as it goes. I appreciate them getting patch 1.2 out in the time frame they said they would. I think there are some people who are going to be happy with some things in patch 1.2, and it's going to help for that small percentage of people who are still playing the game. It's going to do nothing to fix that 72% of people who are not going to play the game. So overall, was the content in update 1.2 good? Yeah, I think for the most part it was good. But overall, are we still in kind of a crappy place with Warhammer 3? Yep, and that was to be expected. I didn't expect patch 1.2 to change that. Anyway, I just wanted to cover this. Hopefully this was useful. And I would love to see your comments down below. Tell me what you think I got wrong. Tell me what you think I got right. It's okay if you disagree with me, even vehemently. It's all right. Take time to do it. I want to read what people have to say. It's always good to get another opinion, and I appreciate having your opinions. HeirofCarthage signing out for now. Hope to see you all soon with some more content in Total War Warhammer 3.